Man, there is just so much going on with this state of mind, right? Alright guys, we are back. So this time we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Arcane Dagger that we're going to be getting at some point on Ginnungagap. So anytime they release these arcane weapons for a new weapon type, I like to go ahead and just dissect the weapon, and then we'll take a look at who the best possible inherits are to be giving this weapon to. So Ginnungagap's Dagger here, Arcane Void. What this weapon does is -1 special trigger. At the start of combat, if unit's HP is over 25%, you get all stats of 5 to unit. You also inflict all stats -X on the foe, where X is the highest penalty on each stat between the target and the foe in 2 spaces of target. So this can be a stat wall weapon, which gives it some nice dual phase potential. So player phase and enemy phase, you can get a lot of stats out of this. So that is pretty nice. You just have to get some debuffs on the enemies for it to work. And then it also calculates each stat penalty independently. Unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack, and grants special cooldown charge +1 to unit per attack. So we get special acceleration with the -1 special trigger. Very powerful combo, especially now that we have Tempo 4, and Tempo 4 is a very badass skill. We don't have Speed and Defense Tempo 4 yet, or like Attack and Defense Tempo 4. When those come out, that's when we're going to be looking at the sauce here with this weapon on physical dagger attacking units. I do actually have a build that we're going to take a look at on a certain unit that can actually use attack res tempo, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So overall impressions on this Arcane Dagger is that it's pretty good. It doesn't have null follow-up, but at this point, I mean, null follow-up is bargain bin level. You can get null follow-up pretty much anywhere, depending on how your team setup is worked out. So, not the biggest deal in the world. The guaranteed follow-up at this point, I would say, is actually more favorable, so you can run this weapon even on slower units, and the fast units will be getting null follow-up from somewhere, so it's not the biggest deal that they lack it. And then the stat balling is nice for dual phasing, and of course, as we said, the -1 with the acceleration is very good. So, just overall, a very solid weapon for both slower and faster units alike. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at some good merge project units that you can give it to, and these are statistically the best options. There are a couple that I left off that we will bring up when the time comes, but we're going to start things off with this Bunny Ash here. Now this guy is a seasonal 4-star demote, so you would have to spend orbs or maybe even money to get him to +10. However, it's not that big of an investment compared to 5-star exclusives. So it could work out if you want to go for this guy. His stat line is pretty nice. He has the best attack and speed combo of any demote dagger. So that is good for his favor. Alright, so we're also running Arcane Darkbow here on all these units as a proxy. Because it's a ranged arcane weapon, it has the same stats as the Arcane Void will have. And it allows us to go for the refine here. I can't put Void in yet because it's not updated on the unit builder. So, Arcane Void. Harsh Command, like, the assist is irrelevant. Just run whatever assist you want. I just went for that because it's the highest scoring option that you can run. Lethality, of course, is going to be premier options on all these dagger units. It nullifies DR and then cuts defense by 80%. Pretty sick, especially with the -1 and the acceleration, making it easy to ramp into lethality. So this is another case where whenever we get speed and defense tempo or attack and defense tempo 4, it's going to be a really nice combo with this weapon. So you're getting tempo and acceleration. That would just be very good. Flared Sparrow, Desperation 4, and Panic Smoke on this build. Panic Smoke is nice with this weapon because it inflicts a ton of debuffs after you attack. And then it also gives foe penalty doubler and inflicts panic on the foes with all stats -3. So because this weapon gets stat balling, the more debuffs the enemies have, you're going to want to run this weapon with allies who can inflict debuffs or skills that can debuff the enemy. Of course, daggers innately come with Dagger 7, so that already has you set for defense and res, but it's not start a turn, that's after combat. So running pre-combat effects that can debuff the enemies would be good, but in this case, Panic Smoke 4 is what we have to go for, since this guy is a flying type option, and flyers lack some of the other options that infantry may have. And then, of course, the Oath skill of choice is Echo at the moment. Oath Echo, and then Blade Session for more DPS. Okay, we have Patty up next. Now, Patty is interesting because she actually has a workable defensive stat. So if you wanted to, you could give her Prime 4 and go for a dual phasing build. But in this particular case, I wanted to show off something a little different. So we have Hexblade with attack res tempo. As I said, tempo combos very perfectly with this weapon. So if we can find a way to access tempo, we want to go for it. And Hexblade is a good way to do it because that gives us adaptive damage. It also gives us attack and speed up 7. So if we're targeting the enemy's res, we're going to be doing res-based damage with this tempo 4 skill here. And then also we're inflicting tempo so they can't use guard or acceleration against us. We got bonus doubler to gain all stats up 6, which is good. This weapon doesn't have DR anywhere, so your units are lacking in terms of protection. The protection is coming from how much stats you can get out of the debuffs on the enemy. So possibly, let's say they got -7 on everything. That would be essentially +13 on all stats from this weapon. So combine that with bonus doubler, and we're going for stats to tank as opposed to DR. So this can work out. And then we have, of course, Attack Oath Echo once again. You're going to see that everywhere. Lethality is very easy to ramp into with tempo, the -1, and the acceleration. So this should work out. Patty is also a colorless dagger type. Now, the other option is Julian. However, that guy is a 5-star exclusive, and he's not even quite as good as Patty is in terms of attack and speed. He is on defense. He's got good defense, but Patty just has more attack and speed, and then she's got super boons on speed. So, like, I don't know, man. Julian, if you've got him, then he could be an option, but Patty is just a demote, and she's just better. All right, then we have Kath up next. Now, Kath is running another typical build you will see on a lot of these arcane units. Just run Times Pulse 4, Special Spiral 4, and Finish 4, so you can ramp over and over again to a special. We don't need lethality here, because Special Spiral 4 already nullifies DR. So we go for Dragon Fang instead, and we just ramp into it, loop it over and over, and blow up the enemies. So this works out. If you don't want to go for Kath, there's also Colm, who is a blue dagger type. Stat-wise, Kath is better, though. She's got slightly more attack and speed and better defense, and an overall better BST, because she's a later release. But if you prefer the blue color from him, he can do that for you, I guess. And blue is a better color than green, because more of the dominant units in the meta are red, so he has that one advantage. If you want to go for him instead of Kath, that is an option. But this build will pretty much work on any infantry type. Alright, then we have Dean over here for our Cavalry Dagger. Now, he's actually the only one that I think is worthwhile. There are some other Cavalry Daggers, but they're either 5-star exclusives with perf weapons, or they're like Summer Gunthra, who is really rare. This guy is a Tempest Trial, and he's a pretty solid one at that, so you can get away with him. We're going for Disarm Trap on this build, because it gives half and null follow-up, and then in Aether Raids, this is very powerful, because you can just disarm all the traps. So there we go with this, and Flared Sparrow should be a no-brainer here. Attack and Speed Menace is another way to make good use of the Arcane Void weapon, because you're getting start of turn debuffs on the enemies, so this just adds even more to the stat swings there. You're debuffing their attack and speed by 6, and then giving yourself attack and speed up 6. So when you initiate combat, it's just adding more to the stat swings there, so that can help out. And that is pretty much the way to go here. I mean, there's a lot of other skills you can run, like Desperation 4 could be an option. There's also Escape Route 4 if you want to get Kanto on him, but I mean, it's just pretty much pick your choice. All right, we have Jafar as the first of the armored daggers. We actually have a couple more armored daggers we're going to take a look at, but Jafar is the fast option. He is the fastest armored dagger in the game. So, of course, the speedy build will work out here. We have Kestrel Stance for guard and attack and speed. You got Savvy Fighter 4 for some DR and no follow-up. Attack and speed far save, letting us jump in and protect units. Armored Bacon, because he's got better defense than Rez, and it's pretty easy to ramp into with the -1 and the acceleration. So another good use of Arcane Void with a pretty good special there. Deathblow Echo, because you have to. There's no other Oath skill at the moment to give him, so you got to go for that one. And then attack and speed form just to get more attack and speed there. So there you guys go with Jafar. Okay, we have Winter Cecilia, another pretty popular +10 choice from back in the day. She was a solid merge project when she released. So I'm sure a lot of people got her at +10, and she can hang in there pretty good now with this Arcane Void. So Fire Flood Boost, the superior attack and res boosting guard A skill. Better than Mirror Stance and like all the other stance level 3s. The only problem is this is the only boost skill we have. I still am waiting on the other stat spreads for this. Special Spiral 4 combos nicely with Armored Flow, so you just loop it over and over and you get non-pierceable DR. Her res is really good, so unlike all of the armored units we're going to take a look at here, they all have an advantage. So Jafar has the best speed, Sicilia's got the best res, and then this guy here, Dozla's got the best defense. So you can pretty much pick whichever one you want, but Sicilia and Jafar are way easier to get than this guy, because he is a 5-star seasonal unit. Okay, and then, of course, Def Res Far Save, Def Res Form should go without saying for this, so finishes up the build. Okay, so Dozla, he also has pretty good attack as well, but basically we're just running the same build as Sicilia, focusing primarily on defense instead of res. So that way we're going for Armored Bacon, and otherwise it is the exact same. I'm still waiting on more of the fighter B skills, because a lot of them don't really... Like, the two we have right now, Special Fighter 4 and Vengeful Fighter 4, do not combo well with any of the arcane weapons, because they give a lot of redundant effects, like some of them inflict guard, or give you a guaranteed follow-up, or give you special acceleration. The arcane weapons already do that for the most part, so that's why Special Spiral 4 can actually be a premier option on these armored units right now. But whenever we get Bold Fighter 4, or Crafty Fighter, or Slick Fighter, or Daring Fighter 4, I'm sure they're going to be better options to combo with the arcane weapons. So those will be the ones to look out for. Okay, we have also this Soth here. This guy is a 4-star demote on the Thief banner. So just like with the Summer or Bunny Ash that we looked at, you would have to invest some orbs into this guy if you wanted to get him at +10. Here is a different build. We're going for the Prime build this time. So Prime 4 works out pretty well with Arcane Void, because that one is a nice dual-phase weapon, and Prime 4 is a dual-phase skill. So we're getting Guard in the B skill, so we inflict Guard, get some DR, and lower enemy attack. Panic Smoke gives us one of our needed effects for Prime 4. So after we attack, we get Foe Penalty Doubler. Oath Echo is giving us one effect there, the Warping. And then you would have to run him with an ally support, probably Asker, so you get 2 more effects for Prime 4. You would get Resonant Blades, Resonant Shields. And then you would also get -1 cooldown for lethality, bringing it down to a 2-hit. So you attack the enemy and you're ready. Like, there you go. Lethality is good to go. So Asker would be a nice choice to support this guy with. Also, debuffing units that can lower enemy stats, so you can just get the most amount of stats as possible in your first round of combat with the Arcane Void. All right, we have the Summer Lina up next. Now, this is another Cavalry Dagger, although she has a pretty good stat spread by comparison to Dean when it comes to running a more wider variety of skills. So this guy wants to go for like attack and speed, whereas Lina can go for attack and res skills. So we've got Squad Ace BU3 to give visible res and visible attack. That's where the visible res is good for attack and res ploy or def res ploy, whichever one you prefer. So this will give us debuffs to the enemies at the start of the turn, so we can use those to the advantage of Arcane Void and get some more stats. Also, it inflicts exposure and nullifies Grand Strategy and bonus doubler there. Instead of Flared Sparrow, you want to give her, what is it called? Flared Mirror or Mirror Flare? I can't remember. The one that the Sanaki and Micaiah duo is going to have on the new banner. It's not available yet in the unit builder, but that would be the preferred skill to give this Lina, because obviously we don't need speed on her. So Mirror Flared or Flared Mirror, whatever it is, that's what you would want to give her. And then we got Brash Assault here just to get some DR and then augmented damage, so she can possibly survive into her second attack, and then it should be a lethality to the face, which will delete the enemy. So here's a more like varied build you could go for on a Cavalry Dagger type. And then finally, just for some variety, we've got a Dancer in here. Now, I would say Dorothea is better than Larum, the Infantry Dagger Larum, who is the other dance option we could go for. The problem is that both of them are 5-star exclusives, and Dorothea is a little harder to get because she's seasonal 5-star. Whereas Larum, I think Larum is in the demote pool already. You could get her as a special rate pull. But Dorothea is just better. So we're going for Dorothea in the purposes of this video. So, just a classic dance support build. We're going for visible res here, so we can use def res ploy or attack res ploy, whichever you prefer. Firestorm Dance, of course, with Oath Echo, so she can jump in, dance somebody, and then Canto out. And then lethality, depending on the situation, you may be able to even pre-charge this. if your team is set up in a way where you're getting a lot of -1 pulsing. Like if you've got Infantry Pulse 4 on your guys, or you have Duo Asker on the team, or you have that one Captain Seal that gives you -1 trigger at the start of every turn. So there's a lot of ways that she could just come pre-charged with lethality. So she could support the team by dancing and debuffing. And then if she needs to fight, she could probably blow something up in the end. So there you guys go. Those are some nice dagger units that do not have perf weapons that would be good choices to give the Arcane Void to. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below if you're going to be building any of these dagger units and giving them the Arcane Void. And this is your boy Tacho signing out, so stick around. We have another video that I want to try to get done today, and that is going to be the Ruse 4 video. So stay tuned if you're interested, and I will see you guys again on the flip side.